We're joined now by a witness who was in the front row of the rally when the former president was shot. Dave McCormick is the Republican candidate for Senate. Mr. McCormick, thank you for joining us this morning. Please tell us what you saw.
Well, it was I was right in the front row off to President Trump's right, and he had announced me and said, "Come on up on the stage." And so I started to walk up on the stage, and then he said, "No, I'll have you come up in a little bit." And within a minute or two after that, we started to hear the fire, the sort of staccato, and a minute, it started, and then it was clear that it was rifle shots, and the president went down immediately, and the Secret Service covered him, and then he stood up, as you saw, and you saw his fist emerge there as, I think, a sign of assurance and defiance and strength. But at about the same time, behind me, it became clear that someone had been wounded on the bleachers and was being cared for by other attendees, but an innocent bystander, and it was obviously very serious because there was lots of blood. And so the entire place was just on its knees or on the ground. It wasn't clear whether the shooting was stopped. It wasn't clear whether the shooting was from one place or multiple places. And it was, just as the previous segment said, an unthinkable moment where the president's life, we now know was saved by an inch.
And you talked about hearing the shots. At what point did you realize that this was an attack, or was that apparent to you immediately?
Well, I've been a military person and I've been a hunter, so I know the sound of gunfire, but it wasn't quite obvious to start with. But when the staccato nature, when it felt like 7 or 8 shots, I'm not sure exactly how many it was, but then it became obvious that it was gunfire, and everybody went down, and then obviously the entire Secret Service team went into action to protect the president, and it was obvious we were under fire, under assault at that point.
And what was your sense of where the shots came from?
It wasn't completely clear. It's hard to tell sometimes. It felt to me like they were off to the president's left as he was facing the crowd, because the person behind me was shot and the president was shot, which is consistent with some of the things I'm seeing on the reporting now. But it's really hard to tell. In fact, I thought that there might be 2 shooters. Because there was so much gunfire, and it was all in unison. But it looks like there was only one at the time. But it's very difficult to identify exactly where it was, and it was obviously very chaotic the moment it started.
So what was running through your mind when you realized what was going on?
Well, originally, once the initial firing stopped, it was clear somebody was injured behind me. So I stood up, and we were trying to get medics in, and just trying to make sure we assessed how who was hurt and how many people hurt. And then a gentleman next to me said, "Get down, this might not be over." And so I initially it was clear the president had the care that he needed and he was being moved, but it wasn't clear that the crowd was very dense, and there was at least one. And now I'm now understanding there were multiple people behind me that were injured, but one person behind me was clearly in duress, and there was a lot of blood, and we were trying to get the medics in there, but it was very dense. It was hard to do. Eventually, some police officers came in and carried the man out and took him to medical care. But the initial reaction was making sure we got the right medical care we needed for the innocent bystanders.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. Well, Mr. Dave McCormick, thank you for your first-person explanation of what you saw. We really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.